Welcome to our first class overview. In this video we will be taking a look at the Swordmage. The purpose of this video is to help you decide whether this class is for you or not, by showing you gameplay, explaining most if not all of its skills, the importance of the class and the Trinity system, and how it performs. These videos will not show or discuss anything about PvP as they were recorded while on the Chinese server, and with that comes around 400 ping. But from this video, you might still get an idea of the potential this class has in PvP. All of this information comes from in-game experience and Lofty's blog that helped me with translations and skill images. Please take a look at her blog for revelation information, as I will link it in the description. Now, some of you may be confused about the Swordmage. You see a sword and think, this will be a melee class or have some skills that require close combat. Well, it doesn't. The Swordmage is a caster. It is the mage class of revelation. There are other casting classes, but this is the dedicated mage DPS next to the occultist, which serves other purposes than DPSing. What makes the Swordmage so special is its use of elements. You can switch from fire, ice, and lightning on the go. Which element you have selected affects a few different abilities. Using fire usually means more damage, using ice usually means more CCs, using lightning means shock damage and damage over time. You'll find yourself constantly changing elements to apply different effects to your abilities for different situations. The Swordmage is perfect for CCs, building up her elements to deal strong bursts of damage, and nuking enemies with its unparalleled skills, which are your ults, F1 through F6 skills. Now, most of your attacks are long range, casting different elements to kill or CC your enemies. One thing that turned me off to the class at first was the fact that it doesn't actually use the sword for close range combat, as I'm not really a fan of casting or mage classes. However, I found this class to be so fun, I'm torn between choosing this or the Light Blader as my main. It does have a few attacks that require you to be close range and that kind of use a sword, such as Sword Dance, which is your spin to win move. I found that this attack didn't deal too much damage, but that could be a lack of gear or because it would be somewhat broken, as this skill lasts a very long time. When it comes to large groups of mobs, this skill comes in handy, but if you are solo, using this could get you killed, as the Swordmage is best from a distance. The other skill is Ice Ram. I'm seeing a possible name change in the future. This places you on your sword, and it becomes a hoverboard. You deal damage to any enemy you hit. You become immune to CC, and your movement speed is increased dramatically. This attack deals a ton of damage and decreases the enemy's movement speed upon impact. The skill is awesome, however, I don't recommend doing this to a crowd of enemies, as you will most likely have a seizure. Other than that, it's perfect for chasing an enemy down for the group. I could see this coming in handy in open world PvP. The Swordmage's basic attacks are Cloud and Meteor. Cloud changes based on your selected element. If you are using fire, it has a chance to decrease the enemy's magic defense. Using lightning, it has a chance to deal extra damage, and using ice, it has a chance to slow the enemy's movement speed. Meteor is your stronger basic attack, but has a small cooldown. Meteor does a ton of damage and also burns the enemy for a few seconds. Using this while in fire stance allows you to use it again after 2 seconds. Your main damaging basic skills are the following. Elemental Attack, which is your strongest basic skill. This attack can be used while you have 5 elemental charges. It consumes all 5, and based off your element, it has a different effect. Did I mention that the animations of your skills change with the element you have applied? As long as it's an ability affected by elements. With fire selected, this attack nukes the enemy and applies a burn, giving them damage over time for 6 seconds. Lightning causes a line of shock damage that decreases the enemy's physical attack and locks them from using dodge skills. It also does a bit of damage. Ice does some damage as well, but freezes the enemy in place for 5 seconds. Lightning Orb sends out an orb of lightning that detonates on impact. If you are on lightning stance, you can consume 1 elemental charge to cause an electric field that does damage over time once the orb explodes. Falling Star is one of my favorites, as it helps you escape many attacks and keep the space between the enemy. It's one huge backstep that sends out arcane orbs to attack the enemy in front of you. I rely on this attack a ton, especially with bosses when they prepare their AoEs and such. And then you have Star Sword, which takes a short time to cast and sends down a huge sword that lasts 10 seconds. It stuns the enemy upon impact and does a huge amount of damage. Enemies within the radius take increased damage. Your CC, defensive, and buffing skills are the following. Elemental Stance, which is how you switch between your elements on the go and build your charges, which is a total of 5. Freeze, which targets the enemy and freezes them for 2 seconds. It deals some damage, but it's mainly there for CC. If in Ice Stance, you can use this attack again shortly after, and it will deal less damage but decrease the enemy's movement speed for a few seconds the second time you use it. Ice Ring, which freezes the enemies around you when used for 3 seconds. Perfect for trying to escape when enemies get too close, and it's also perfect for a large group of mobs. Star Power restores mana for you and your allies, and increases magic attack for your team as well. The mana pool is also increased. This is a buff you want to keep up for your group at all times. Blink allows you to teleport and also breaks all CC. Ice Wing protects you from any attacks for the next 5 seconds. It also decreases your threat, so if you see a nuke coming your way, you just Ice Wing up. Now let's take a look at the Swordmage's legendary skills, the skills that pretty much destroy the world. For your main damaging ultimates, you have Punishment, which consumes an elemental charge and changes its effect based on your selected element. Fire causes an explosion that does burn damage and scales off your magic attack. Lightning deals damage over the next 5 seconds and causes a shock area, while Ice deals some decent damage and freezes the enemy in place for 3 seconds. Sword Dance, which we explained earlier, is your spin to win but also grants you immunity to all CC. And then you have Blade Fan, which sends out a ton of swords to destroy the enemy. Damage is increased in PvE by 50%, and it knocks the enemy down for 3 seconds. Star Edge allows you to move around while sending out waves of magic damage. Ice Ram is your sword surfboard, and then you have Void, which causes a pulling vortex, decreases enemy magic defense and speed, and does damage to those in the vortex. You have 2 other legendary abilities you can unlock, being Skyfire, that like Punishment changes based on your element. Fire deals a ton of damage and causes a second explosion for more damage, while Lightning does damage over time, and Ice decreases the enemy's movement speed. So as you guys can see, there's a pattern. Lightning is usually a dot, Ice is usually CC, Fire is usually more damage. Ice Castle is the last legendary you can get, and it stuns enemies in front of you and does damage after the effect wears off. The more enemies you have in front of you, the more damage it does. Unfortunately, as you can see, I have no footage of these attacks. I climbed my way above level 50 on the Swordmage, but didn't unlock my last 2 legendary abilities. This will probably end up being the case for the rest of the class overviews. You unlock 6 of these ultimate abilities, but then the other 2 require questing and reputation currency. They're also optional, and you can swap out other legendaries for them, as you can only have 6 equipped at a time. The Swordmage also has 3 different passives. Stars, which is how you gain your elemental charge. You have Shine, that increases magic attack by 6% for the Swordmage and allies. And you have Healthy Body. For every 10 strength, endurance, intellect, spirit, and dexterity, maximum health pool increases by 60. For the Swordmage, building into intelligence is key for getting the best out of your DPS. Which other stats you decide to place into will determine how squishy you'll be. Strength serves no purpose for the Swordmage. Vitality is good for physical defense, Spirit is good for magic defense and HP MP recovery, and Agility helps with crits. Intelligence again is key. Deciding whether or not to go Vitality or Spirit depends on your playstyle. How much do you plan on going face to face with the melee class? Or will you be the best at kiting in the world? When choosing where to place your stat points, the game gives you the option to let it help you and will spread your points in different places depending on which build you want to go for. For the main hand, the Swordmage uses a magic sword, and for the offhand it uses a magic orb. You want to go for intelligence boosting armor over armor with spirit, as that usually benefits spirit shapers more. You also don't need to worry much about MP recovery, as you have a skill that can replenish MP for you and your party. Overall, the Swordmage is great for kiting and escaping attacks with her backdrops. Did I mention it was really good at CCs? Yeah, especially when using certain abilities while having the ice element selected. The Swordmage is not a complicated class to play. I found it to be extremely fun. It's very useful for adding that extra DPS in boss fights, but must stay at max range. It seems a bit squishy, but again, could be my gear and because I focus more on magic damage rather than blocking physical attacks from bosses. In PvP, after a few duels with my friends, the CCs and AoEs really come in handy, but with bad ping there is nothing you can do, as kiting isn't too easy while your enemy has a ton of knockdowns. If you love casting classes or pure magic DPS, I feel that this class is for you. Occultist might interest you, but Occultist is a bit different, and we'll discuss that in another class overview. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and look forward to the next ones. Is the Swordmage the class for you, or are you still waiting to see more on the other classes? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll be there to see what you guys think. Until the next one, see you soon, friends.